then I'm also,
I forgot
oh.
to, so now we're doing it. So continue, Faith.
No, you're good. And then the other things I'm involved with is probably doctor's notes. I think Betsy's in it. Are you in it, Betsy? I forget.
I love singing, but I'm not good at it, so you wouldn't want me.
Oh, okay. Wait, I swear someone was,
My roommate,
I don't know.
Isn't it, but continue.
Oh, okay. So I'm in doctor's notes, which is the acapella group. If you M1 saw the video that we put out for your white coat ceremony, I'm the girl in the middle beatboxing. And then finally, I am on the honor council as well. So you'll hear about an election process coming up soon, actually. So you'll hear from me again.
Yeah, and I guess I didn't go into what I did. I went to a lot of interest group meetings, kind of how you guys are here, but I didn't get myself involved in leadership until second semester because I graduated a semester early and then kind of went straight into med school after that kind of gap semester. So I just wanted to make sure that I was like sound in my academics before I started getting super involved. But so co-president of AWS, I started the Gross Anatomy Interest Group. So that's another one that I'm president of. I'm student as scholars, which means when you guys do content connections, I might be somebody who helps out with that. Doing plastics research, doing ENT research, medically illustrating, society leader, and peer mentor. And I think that is all that I'm doing. Yeah. So, yeah, I did wait until like, other than making my interest group in November, I did wait till like December to apply to like student leadership. Oh, and then I volunteer at JDoc. But I just kind of wanted to make sure that my academics were okay. And then once I felt really confident in the routine, that's when I started like picking up stuff.
And I agree with Betsy. I also did it second semester as well. I just wanted to like make sure that I was on top of school stuff before I started joining things. So you don't have to stress about joining things right now. So the only thing I did during the first semester was I went to JDoc and I just volunteered there, but I wasn't I wasn't the director or anything like that. So it's up to you guys. It's just how much you can personally take on. But when I entered med school, I also took a gap semester, so I was really stressed. I didn't really know how to study, so I kind of just took the time to like figure out my study method, figure out my schedule before I joined anything.
And things will kind of seem pretty crazy when you guys start, just like opportunities will seem to just be flooding in. But like those opportunities are going to keep flooding in for your entire year. So don't feel bad if like you want to do something and it fills up automatically. Like it's going to keep coming and people will start, you know, focusing on school, and then that might be the better balance for you to come back in. Like, don't worry about the first wave. Everything's crazy when M1s just start applying and doing everything. So I would say, for my personal advice, is just do what's important to you and what you care about when you choose what to get involved in. And then, you know, if you want to take time to like focus on your academics, you'll have plenty of time to get involved. Hi, Lisa. Lisa is here now. She's the other president. Basically what we were just kind of doing was introducing ourselves. We've introduced AWS and just kind of when did you get involved and what did you get involved in. And also to everyone, if you have any questions, put them in the chat. If you want to be anonymous, privately chat me. And then if you want to be part for the giveaway, make sure that your full name is there, or chat me your full name.
Yeah, sorry guys. I'm listening today in the things and then
your microphone sounds horrifying.
We can't hear you, Lisa.
Hear me now?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay. As I was saying, I'm a lesson today, and the med school makes you flexible. And that sometimes you will have it together and sometimes you will not, like me today on our second day back. So yeah, my name is Lisa. I am one of the co-presidents here. I would say that I'm normally a little more put together, but that's a lie. I got involved with AWS. I actually volunteered to help with a banquet at in the first week of school, I think. And I'm interested in surgical oncology, so I knew AWS was something I wanted to do. And then I kind of just jumped into participating in their clinics, and I really, really enjoyed it. I don't know if have you guys shared much about like individual, like yourselves?
We shared like what we did outside of AWS. Like, are you involved in anything else?
Yeah. So I am also involved in Med Intima, which is our med student publication. So I write for them. I just joined the Doctor's Notes, which is our singing group. And then it
was Lisa then. Sorry, I thought it was Betsy.
Oh yeah, no, it was me. And then I also am one of the ambassadors for KU Med. So I might have met some of you guys giving a tour. Yeah, and then so also outside of that, I am a non-traditional student. So I am a little bit older. I am married. I live off campus, which is why I was late. I had to drive home. And I am also pregnant with our first. So if any of you guys have any questions, thanks, gals. If any of you guys have any questions about like family, relationship, being like off campus, anything like that, please reach out, or being a non-traditional student. I love it. I've never felt any different because of it. And everyone, as you can tell, everyone is really supportive when life outside of med school keeps going, because you're not just med students, you are all the other things. So yeah, so sorry I was late again.
That's okay. Okay. Let's see. So next question would be, what is your favorite part about medical school? Takers?
Okay, I'll go first. So my favorite part is all the people that I've met. I think that I went from a really, really small private school to KU. So it was really cool to meet like more diverse people. And I felt like I was able to form really great and close friendships. And that has really pushed me through medical school, because medical school is hard. You're going to have days where you're going to cry. And I do cry, and I'm a big crier when I get stressed. And so, you know, just having like people that are also experiencing it with you, like just, you know, talk to you, and, you know, we cry together, and that's something that is memorable to me in the long run when I could look back and laugh at these things. But yeah, so I really like that about medical school, and I just really like the learning environment at KU. I think they do a phenomenal job. Like I said, I went from a really small private school, so I didn't know anyone going into KU. So having those small groups already formed for you was a really great opportunity to just meet new people, and gives you the opportunity to make friends when you don't know anyone.
Faith, what about you?
Yeah, I was gonna mention the small groups. I really like that aspect of it, because you really get to know, you know, a group of 7 to 8 people, and then from then on, they know some people that you can get connected with, and it's just a great segue into trying to get to know everyone, which is probably impossible, but unless you're super
Hey girl,
extroverted,
how's it going?
which I am not.
Good. I'm just kind of was like exploring, because I was like, I don't know, I forgot where everything was.
But yeah, that's my favorite part.
Ours are all pretty much in the first floor, right? Okay, cool.
Fixed it. Oh, okay. Mine was like, as we're talking about small groups, if your small group doesn't gel amazingly, don't feel bad about that either. Sometimes it takes time for people to get to know each other, and then eventually you guys find each other's niches. And even if you never do, kind of like my small group, we're great and we get everything like done in the moment, but it's not like we just don't really hang out as much outside. There's plenty of different opportunities, and I've met a great group of friends through just like other things and studying and like content connections. So some people, small groups is their second family. Some people, it's the people you get everything done with, and they're just like there to like support you on the side as well. But probably for me, favorite part of med school, I think the clinical stuff is really crazy and really cool, because I don't know what all your experiences were in undergrad, but just being able to like learn stuff and then actually like apply it, whether in like JDoc when you're interviewing the patient or you're looking stuff up and being like, okay, UTI, bacteria options, we learned about it, use Sketchy, I know this. So it's just so nice to finally have like a real world like connection. And those, for me, doing clinical stuff like keeps me going during like the like monotony of everything else. It just kind of like gets you excited to be like, I'll be a real doctor one day. Yeah.
And to like go off of that, really take part in clinicals and, you know, appreciate it, because that is the reason why we are learning all these things. You're sitting here and you're learning hours on hours, these just nonsense bacteria, these nonsense medication. So just like going out and like volunteering at JDoc, volunteering at, what's the pediatric one? The one for
Bulldog?
Bulldog, volunteering at Bulldog and all those things, and just doing Sir Week. It actually, you know, just at least try to attempt to answer what the doctors are asking you to do as well, because that's how you could test, am I really learning it in medical school? And it kind of like makes you feel good when you know it, and like a month ago you knew nothing about UTIs.
Yeah. Also, subtle plug for JDoc. I was like terrified as an M1 to go there. Like back when they used to give us like food before and I couldn't eat because I was like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna mess up. I'm gonna be so dumb. It's gonna be awful. And then as soon as I'd get there and I'd get paired with an M2 and they're like, all right, let's go. Do you want to do this? How do you feel about that? It was just, oh, the best environment for learning. So subtle plug for JDoc, but it's okay to be terrified. But once you get there, it'll be awesome.
And if you come to diabetes night, I will be your mama there.
You'd already know someone.
Yeah, I think just piggybacking off that too, as a first year, you have a lot of grace from everyone. So like everyone, if you say you're a first year, they know you're a first year. There is not pressure. No one's going to pimp you. No one's going to expect you to like know what you're doing. So if you're honest, basically everyone will be super understanding and let you push how comfortable you feel, but they're not going to like leave you out to sink. So I don't know what your guys' Sir Weeks are going to look like, but hopefully if you guys get clinical opportunities to go in, like the doctors who are on there are all great and they will let you do as much or as little as you want. And yeah, so I think that has also been my favorite part, has been the clinical tie-ins, the opportunities you get with Bulldog, JDoc, our standardized patients. I think you guys have your difficult standardized patient coming up, which is fun. But it's like a safe environment to have absolutely no idea what you're doing. And for me, it kept me going because when I was learning all those antibiotics and drugs and things that I wanted to cry over, it kept me like grounded and like, oh, this is what I want to do, because at the end of the day, it's going to be patients. It's not always going to be sitting at my desk studying things that I can't pronounce. So
yeah. And just as a nice balance to knowing that there's people to catch you in your fall, this is a great time to take that leap, to push yourself, because the more you push yourself, the more you're going to learn. The more mistakes you make, the more you're going to remember those mistakes and move forward. So in one hand, it's not going to be, you know, you're not going to fall, but also like if you're not comfortable with blood pressure, still take it and just let them know that you might not be the best at it, but still push yourself to get that practice. Like you're there to learn and they're there to help you.
And then talking about Sir Week, like what Lisa was saying, Sir Week is, I think they'll explain it to you, but it's kind of like a lottery. So you're not going to get what you want always. So say that you really want to have a Sir Week in plastic surgery, there's going to be 50 other students that will want that, and there's only like 2 spots. So you're going to get something else sometimes, and that's okay. I know that sometimes it's really disappointing and you get like your 60th. I got my 60th choice one time. It was toxicology. I didn't even know toxicology even existed. I was like, what is this? This is awful. I am so upset. I went in all upset because I was like, I don't want to do pharmacology. I'm not going to be a pharmacist. What is this? And now I'm doing research in it and I love it. And it's one of the things that I am trying to become. Like, you just have to go in with an open mind and not be a bitter soul like me sometimes. So, you know, Sir Week is not going to be what you always want, but it always ends if you just, sometimes you'll just enjoy it and it's going to be really fun.
Yeah. And just a quick plug, if people don't remember what Sir Week is, because you guys are getting a lot of acronyms, Sir Week for a clinical like scholarship enrichment type of week where some people do research, some people shadow that week, some people like learn medical Spanish. So if you're wondering like, what is Sir Week? It happens at the end of blocks and it's just kind of like a week for you guys to explore something that's not just the textbooks. Quote, quote, textbooks. We don't have textbooks.
Yes, you do get time off during Sir Weeks, just a little plug. So you get a little break before the next block, which I was always like 10 out of 10. So it's fun. I love Sir Weeks. I miss them.
I'm a fan. They are extremely tiring though, but anyways, okay, on to the next one. As the title of our panel, what advice do you wish you knew your M1 year? It's a thinker.
So my advice is, and I told my roommate this too, is that I was looking to see how everyone else studied, and they told me to buy this and this worked for them, and they told me to buy this and this worked for them. So I was buying like an outside resource for $300. I was buying another outside resource for like $200, and at the end I dropped like at least $500 on these outside resources that I never used because I bought so many. I was never going to get to it in time because I was just listening to like what worked for each individual person. And I tried to get all of those individual stuff and try to use it on my own. And that was not a good idea. One, I wasted money. Two, I was overwhelmed with how much resources I had. And so I would say you pick 2 or 3 that you really like. And I know that there's always free trials, so don't waste your money yet. But yeah, so, just stick to those 2 or 3 and don't try to listen to what other people are saying because in the end, it just is really expensive and it becomes kind of overwhelming with how much stuff you try to push onto yourself.
I think for me, I wish that I had been more mindful or someone had told me more that my study habits are going to change, not even just undergrad to here, but like from block to block. And what works for other people might not work for me, and that's okay. I changed from MCM, the first block, through GI and renal, which is your last block of M1 year. My study habits went all over the place. I switched it up, tried out new things, found what worked and what didn't. And sometimes the things that worked for me, like my small group would be like, that's crazy. But it worked for me. And it got me where I needed to be on exams. And so it's a lot of, I know everyone says like comparison is the thief of joy, but in med school that really is like so true. We are not competing with each other. You guys aren't. I don't know if they made you guys do like that I am not in competition with you like mantra that they made us do our first week. But it really is true. Like you're pass fail. You don't need to beat the person sitting next to you. And I think that's a really hard mentality to get out of because in pre-med you are trying to beat the person sitting next to you for a spot in med school. And so if you're able to kind of let that go, it makes med school a lot easier and a lot more collaborative.
Yeah, and I'll jump in onto that. Just so I know you guys have probably heard a lot of them so far, but if you're just for clarification, Sketchy is really good for when you guys go into MCM and IBI. It's basically like if you imagine looking at like a really fun painting, but everything in the painting is intentional. So it's like, oh, this guy's hat is blue. This means he was stained with this blue stain. And so if you can bring like the visual to mind, then you can remember all the little tiny things. So that's what Sketchy is. Boards and Beyond and Pathoma are videos where somebody's talking you through the whys. Like you'll get a lot of information to memorize, but Boards and Beyond and Pathoma will be like, okay, you do this because of this, and this happens because of this, which happens because of this. And I think that's what everyone told me to use outside resources, but I didn't understand why. And I'm like, I already have too much things to do. I don't have time. You're crazy. But once I actually like took a step back and was like, I can watch these and they can like kind of hold my hand a bit and explain the whys, made it so much quicker to memorize everything else. And that's kind of, I like the whys and stuff like that. So that made my brain really enjoy learning and it was a lot better for me. So I use Boards and Beyond and Pathoma a lot. And then for microbiology and stuff, I'll use Sketchy. And I think those are the main 3 that people usually use as outside resources. And then first aid, this bread and butter. So this book that everyone seems to get, the fun things about it is it has tables, which, okay, yeah, I'm a nerd, I like tables. But it categorizes like information and it has really strange but decently memorable mnemonics. And then if you keep getting the emails about library and like getting books, if you get Pathoma, you can get a Pathoma book from them instead of having to buy it. And
you can get a Pathoma book at the library.
Yeah, that's where I got it. The library. And so
the library has a lot of books, actually. The educational resource, or what are they, content service people, Jen and Matt, They are fantastic, and they have a giant shelf of textbooks. They have first aid books. Yeah, so if books are your jam, I would go there first, because they will let you check. I have a book I got, I think, the third week of MCM, and I still have it. I just have to return it when I graduate or before then. But it's super, super nice. Osmosis was another one. Betsy, I don't know if you've used, I used Osmosis. It is a kind of combination of sketchy and boards and beyond. So like more lecture style, but with cute little drawings. So that was another one to plug for.
And then,
oh, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, like, it's just really good to check out a book and see if you like it before you buy it. But then if you do like it, I would suggest buying it so then you can write all over it. Because that'll be your little notes and mnemonics will help you when you get into MCM. Oh, and while on the same topic, we just got a question. Did you guys look over first aid before or after lectures, and how do you use it in your studying routine?
Okay, so that's where my first aid comes in. One, I actually took it to either Office Max or Staples, I forgot where, and I took out the binding. It cost $3 to get this, so that like when I open it, I could just like fold it and bring it everywhere. So some people do that. Some people keep their binding. And then the third way you could use first aid is that you take out the binding, get it hole punch, which is still also $3, and put it into a large binder. And then like you could take out chapters for it and put it into a small binder and just carry around a small book. Because this weighs a lot. This hurts my back. But yeah, so there's different ways you could do the binding of first aid. And then how I personally did first aid was I did not use first aid at the beginning because I didn't know how to read it. So that's one of my biggest advice is during IT or intro to doctoring, you have a lot of time. So maybe take some time to learn how to just use outside resources and how to read first aid because it's kind of hard to read. But it's just like what I did was I learned everything first in lecture. And then I just read through first aid and asked myself, do I know this concretely? Because first aid is everything that you need to know, but it doesn't explain to you. It just tells you this is this, period. It's just a sentence. So that's how I use it. But you guys can talk about what you guys do.
Yeah, so I use it mostly as like once I'm into B week and I've gotten a lot of the lecture material, and then I group study majority of my B week. And so that like just having it open and one person will just be like, okay, this disease has XYZ, what is it? And we'll go there or like go through that. And then I also would use it after content connections because a lot of people would use it beforehand and they'd have these weird mnemonics or like thought bubbles. And so after I'd go to content connections, which content connections, they like give you high yield topics and you just puke your brain's ideas about them. And then you like walk through it again. And so I would use it after content connections to just see what my peers had seen because you get great ideas from them there. And then I'll just use it to like, quiz each other, or if I just want all the information in one table because tables are beautiful, then I'd go to first aid for it. And they're also really useful into Anki decks, ANKI, which are electronic flashcards. And an advice I wish I had done my M1 year is just download decks because you can get them online where they like incorporate first aid and pathoma and somebody else has done it. And I feel like the majority of my study time was sucked trying to make my own cards from lectures versus you can just download them on Reddit and other stuff. And it's beautifully organized and it has all the stuff from all the different resources. So Anki is my not subtle plug and download the decks.
That is definitely what I did. I barely used first aid last year at all. Like, I don't think I even opened that book, to be honest, because I kept forgetting I had it. But On King is like the deck that I downloaded. And that has over 30,000 cards. And that's not including step 2 stuff. It's just like step 1, the version I have. And so what I do is suspend all the cards and then unsuspend the ones that you're learning right now and then do those cards the day of lecture. Because right after lecture, it's going to be helpful to see if you can recall certain facts. And you can do that through OnKing or Anki. And so that was really helpful for me. The other thing that I wish I just kind of figured this out this year, but in your second year, they give you a subscription to USMLE RX. And that basically is like a digital form of first aid. And not only that, it has its own version of Anki on there that you can also use, as well as like board style questions. So if you guys want to get that first, and then the second year, they give it to you for free. And by that time, you're a pro at using USMLE RX. So then during your second year, it's easy to use. Although the one plug for that is, I have heard that their board style questions tend to be not a lot, but like easier than the actual step one questions. But it's definitely something that could help during your first year of med school, just to try to get down some of the board style questions, like the easier versions. I think that would be really helpful. So I'll plug, yeah, that's a good one.
And I will jump in with my Anki use. So I'm a huge Anki user. I paid for the paid version. So I have it on my phone, I have it on my iPad. I made all of my cards. So I actually found that really helpful. So again, we're all over the spectrum. So it not one size fits all. And then, yeah, they're putting the different, if you have no idea what Anki is, if you Google or Reddit, Anki, Zanki, and Lightyear, they're these massive step prep decks that I downloaded for step prep this year, but I did not use it all last year. I will say if you get sketchy, there is a pre-made Pepper deck. I think it's Pepper, Sergeant Pepper maybe, but there's a Pepper deck, yeah. Thank you. And it will quiz you on the sketchy images. So sketchy, again, they're pictures and they have different presentations of your different facts. And I would use that. That got me through IBI and GIR. So I highly, highly recommend if you get sketchy to use that deck because it makes it an active learning thing for you. So I used first aid in B week as well. I used it kind of as a benchmark of my understanding. So I would go through my lectures during A week, and then B week I would go to that topic in first aid and make sure that I could recognize or understand the topics that they put. Ladies, you guys can disagree with me or throw input in. I felt like a lot of our exams were very first aid heavy, like the concepts.
Don't worry, I'm moving because I'm done eating.
The concepts that were covered in our exams were ones that were highlighted in first aid. So I would use it to make sure that I recognized everything that they would put for a certain drug, bacteria, system. And then also, Betsy, since you mentioned you were a group studier, I am an individual studier. I did have a couple friends where we would like Skype on Thursdays or get together before COVID and kind of talk over questions that we had, things like that. But just to kind of show, and again, Betsy and I have both been really successful with like opposite types of studying. So you find what works for you and you go with it.
Yeah, group studying works well for me because I like to be like quizzed, and I'm also one of those people that in undergrad I like to know everything. So like everything on the slides I wanted to like know it all, and so group studying, other people are a lot quicker and easier to recognize high yield. So we would just go through all the slides and just quiz each other for like hours. And so for me, group studying keeps me better on track because I have a bad time management because I get sucked into stuff. And I just can't afford to do that in med school. So plus friends are nice and happy. So that's why I do group. And then, yeah, and if you have any questions, keep just shooting them into the chat. All right, so what would you say the top 2 things that contributed to your success in 1 year?
I'll go first this time. I will say, and this is gonna sound super cheesy, but one of the big things that I think helped me get through M1 and survive was forcing myself to take time off. It is really, really easy to feel like you have to study 24/7 and that you're never studying enough and etc. Like spring break, Thanksgiving, Christmas break. I don't know how they're doing IBI for you guys this year, but we had to study, we had stuff that we could study over Thanksgiving break. And those really, I had to be really intentional about like stepping away, like close laptop, delete Anki off my phone, and like go spend time with like my family, my friends, my dogs, Netflix. Because by the time that we got to May and GIR, I was crawling to the finish line. I was tired, I was burnt out. And so I think like leaving yourself that grace period was the only way that I survived, because AB week, like that constantly having a test hanging over your head is a lot. And then the second thing I would say is becoming a creature of habit. I am very scheduled. You wouldn't be able to know from today, but normally I have a schedule, and I try really hard. I track everything on my iCal. So I have a calendar for like time tracking, how much I study, like when I'm podcasting, when I'm reviewing, when I'm mocking. And it's really a good way for me to judge how much I'm studying. And if there's a huge day that is just full of this color of my calendar, it means I probably need to step away. And if there's a day where there's a lot of little white space where I went and took a nap, or, you know, maybe took a little too much time off, it kind of helped keep me on track. So time tracking, I highly recommend, if you are not into that, or if you have trouble like me staying focused. And so it keeps you more accountable.
I will go.
So,
No,
okay.
You go.
Are you sure? Okay, I will. So the one thing that I can think of that's like, it's really small, but it works for me. I'm a very goal-oriented individual. So what I like to do is think of like a small finish line, which is after each exam, which is every 2 weeks. So what I do is like, if I get through the 2 weeks and do well on this exam, pass it, you know, I get to go to this nice restaurant. So like you have this small goal of, oh, I can try this restaurant at the plaza if I do really well and study for it. So I love food, first of all. I love, you know, all kinds of cuisine, and I love to try new things and new restaurants and stuff. So it's a really good goal for me to have, because like during the A or B week, I usually just eat in or eat like really bad, to be honest, but I try not to. But it's so easy to not eat healthy because it's so much more convenient to go to the Taco Bell that's right across the street, or Five Guys or whatever else is right across from Heb. So I really like that. So if you have goals that you can set, like smaller ones, and it's easily achievable, it makes things go a lot better, and you feel like you're more productive, and you feel like you're making an impact on learning and all that stuff. Instead of making like a 8-week goal, just make it like a 2-week goal, basically. That helps a lot.
Christina, you want to go?
Okay. So one, I do exactly what Faith does. So please invite me next time, Faith. I would love to join. But it's really bad, but I'm trying to so I have like a very bad spending problem. I'm working on it. So I like shopping. And so what I do is every time I pass my exam, I get $25 to go buy something fun on Amazon. So that, and it's kind of funny, and my friends laugh at me, but I will go on a week Monday, I will go into Amazon and I will pick something that I want. I will put it in my cart. And then every time I'm like, oh my gosh, I do not want to study. I open Amazon and I look at this cart, the thing that's in my cart, and I'm like, I really freaking want this. And so that's what I do. Betsy can attest to that. And then two, it's something that Betsy actually did for me. So thank you, Betsy, is that she actually made this paper it's just a printout sheet. And it's kind of like a coloring thing where you have these things like you watched this lecture, you watched this Boards and Beyond, you did this IRAT quiz, which is a quiz you can do, you take this formative, and if you finish it, you get to color it in, and it's like usually a star or a circle, and so you just color it in, and it's just a sheet of paper that she makes. Hopefully Betsy could show it to us. Oh, there it is. That is exactly what she does. And so, yeah, so when I do something like I do the pre-work, I color it in. And so that was really nice, and it helped me at the very end of med school when I was burnt out.
Yeah, this is, again, if you can't tell, I like tables. Both my folks are engineers. Actually, my entire family is engineers. And for me, I'm naturally a very disorganized, chaotic human. And I'd be like, did I watch that lecture? Did I go? Did I do that? And I would just get like so overwhelmed to be like, what have I studied? What have I not? And so by having here, and I change the colors every time because happiness, but just going in to be like coloring stuff, pre-work, lecture, and then did I like review Anki? And then I write in my percentages for what I got on the formatives, which are your little kind of practice questions. And so then I can you know, everyone likes to study what they're good at. And by putting in the percentages and being like, you got 100% on that, don't look at it again for a while. And like, it like forces my hand to study the things that are more difficult. So if you ever want something like this, just email me and I'll send it your way. But yeah, I'd say that schedule and forcing myself to be scheduling. And I use sticky notes a lot because I can see them. Because if I don't see it, I don't remember it. So I don't eat through my pantries because I don't see what's in my pantry. But oh, I made that in Word, or a doc in a table. But if you're interested, yeah, just email me, ECHA. I'll put my email in there. But yeah, I'd say scheduling and just a support system, which it was really rough for me, the transition. I'll be vulnerable and admit that, like coming from a big college where I had a really solid group to just coming where I knew nobody. It was really hard to get those like friends and get that support. But like eventually got like a fabulous group, and like we support each other like academically and make sure that everyone's like okay, eating food, doing great. And so don't feel bad if you don't have solid friends right off the bat. They will come and people will still help you along the way, even if you're not that close with them yet. But
I was just going to jump in really fast and say, hey, Betsy, that is beautiful. You should send that to me because I currently use a planner, and I don't know if you all can tell, but it is a mess. Sort of the same thing. But what I was going to say to you guys is everything like on that form might be really overwhelming right now because there's IRATs, there's formatives, there's summatives, there's pre-work, there's CBCL, post-CBCL tests. You will get into the zone. And I had to write everything down kind of like what Betsy did. So I would highly recommend something like that because there's things that you need to do before class, or they recommend you do before, and then there's things that you do after class, and then there's things you do like before the exam, like the formative exam. They recommend that you use it as kind of a benchmark on your B week. So it's a lot of acronyms, and I remember being really overwhelmed and like I didn't know what assignments are due. And it is all just to help you. So usually if you don't want to take the IRAT, you don't have to. There's a couple lectures I think we had last year where it was like required. But for the most part, it is all on you. So it's not like anyone's going to be checking your grades. And also don't freak out. But when you take the formatives, if you get really crappy scores, it's okay. It is not going to be indicative of how you will do on the summative. My formatives, I would take the weekend of a week, and I would usually get around a 60 or 70%. And I did fine on all of the exams. So we are all tied to our grades as pre-med students. The formative, and no one gets the formative scores or anything. That is just for you. So don't freak out.
Yeah, so that is something I did not know. And I had to tell myself, I was like, nothing is graded. The only thing that is graded is your summative. So nothing on Blackboard is graded at all. And I don't think they really said that very concretely, but nothing is graded except for your summative. Formatives, nothing is graded except for clinical stuff and your summative. And then I have never passed a formative ever in my life, never passed one. And I have passed all of the exams, the summatives. So do not worry if you fail the formative. I cried the first, obviously I did. Obviously I cried the first formative I took because I got like a 40%, but I still passed the exam. So you will fail the formative, and that's okay.
Yeah, and just going off the formative, I think some of the most solid advice I got on those is to do them a weekend. Like that Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get them done, because it will just really help you locate like where your needs are. Like how I showed you how I did the percentages. If I can do that early on, and it's also like, I'm one of those people who's not very self-motivated, so I kind of need that kick in the ass to be like, oh, hey, you got 0% there. You should do something about it. So do the formatives a weekend. Some people do them all the way through. I have dual screens, and I like to have the answers on one light. I'll just hit submit, have 0%, and then I take the formative because I kind of like that instant reward and instant thought. And so I'll go through and I'll look at the answers, click, click, click. After I do 5, I'll go and look and see if I got right and see what things were. So people take the formatives super differently. And just, I would say, everyone says relax ITD, but if I could give advice for me personally back in the day, use it to understand outside resources. Like do those free trials, download Anki, try the different decks, and just, you will do yourself such a favor if you understand how to use outside like resources, or figure out how you take notes before, what is it, they start with MCM, before like MCM comes and like smacks you in the face. You can smack it back.
Oh, and there is one thing to do about intro to doctoring. They will teach you statistics. And my biggest regret was that I was like, they're going to teach me statistics and it's going to be on the exam and it's not going to be graded, so I'm not going to learn about it. Statistics will show up 1 to 2 questions out of a 50 question test every single exam. So if you have, I don't know how long ITD is, but you have that, I think 5 weeks or 4 weeks to learn statistics. Drill it in your head. The only thing you should be learning if you were going to learn ITD is statistics, so that you could get 1 or 2 questions right on all the future exams. That is 2 out of 50 questions you could get right if you just learned it now.
No sensitivity and specificity and positive predictive value. This will sound familiar in a couple weeks for you, because they will never leave you. And they will expect you to know it and understand it. And they're, like Christina said, super easy points on the test if you get it. Thanks, Betsy. But yeah, I think that was, intro doctoring is so fun. Dr. Naylor is the bomb. I love Dr. Naylor. And it is like, don't go crazy, don't burn yourself out. But like Betsy said, everyone told us to kind of like, oh, like relax and chill. And I got that advice to learn the biostats. So I made a little Anki card for it, and everyone thought I was crazy because I believe your ITD test will not be graded either. It was like a practice exam, but it helped me. I would just run through those cards before every exam. And then just one last note on the formatives. I take my formatives all at once because I had to build up stamina for the exams. That was for me. My brain gets tired. I want to check out after about 45 minutes of reading question exams, and especially in MCM, sometimes the stems are this long and the amount of pertinent information is just right here. So it's a good time if you, like if in the MCAT, if you struggle to kind of get through all those really long sections, formatives are a really good, safe way for you to kind of practice how long can I get through it. But yeah, MCM it's a fun one.
Yeah, and I want to touch on a couple things, like how she said that they can be really long, and then the last thing you have is the little question at the end. Even though I am very biased because I work for Content Connections now, I would suggest trying it 1 or 2 times, like at least give it 2 goes, because it is very dependent on who goes there. But they kind of walk you through some like thought process strategies for how to go through questions. And I would definitely just say, try it twice. You might not like it the first time, and then you might love it the second time. And they just give some advice on questions, and also just, it's another way to meet people in this kind of like COVID situation. And then as another point is, I'm sure people are kind of curious about this, but might not ask about what happens if you fail an exam, because it's pass fail, and that's kind of a scary thing. But the thing is like, if you fail an exam, the only thing you really lose is your weekend. So if you fail an exam on a Friday, you have to retake it on that Monday. Another thing, if you are really, really, really wanting to get honors, if you do fail an exam, that does take you out of the option to get honors. But if that's not something that really matters to you, you could take a little bit of pressure off yourself in case if you do fail. And if you do fail, it's honestly not the end of the world. Like, I have failed an exam, got a 68, needed a 70, cried, my roommate got me pancakes. But once I like just kind of like realized I had some life stuff going on at the same time, and I kind of realized like the things that I chose to do that happened in my life were things that I did actually need to give time to, because, you know, we're humans and things happen outside of school. And then I just studied that weekend, got a kick-ass score on the like retake, and I moved on with my life. Like, if you fail, you're no like less worthy, you're not stupid, you're not dumb. I'm sure you could look back at that week and be like, oh, something happened and this went this way. But I'd also suggest getting help if that does happen. There's education support, or the director will probably reach out to you and maybe give you some tips, and that might kind of like help open your eyes to what you could change as well. But it's okay. You'll all survive.
And I'll just, oh, sorry, Betsy.
I was just gonna say I have one question that I want to make sure that we get to before time runs out. So
Okay, I'll say this really fast, but just on Betsy's line about like life happening outside of school, if stuff is going on outside of school, do not be afraid to reach out to administration. Dean Meyer is wonderful. He's really great. All the faculty, you have a coach, you have a PBL leader. They're all really understanding, and they genuinely do care about you as a student, not just as like a med student, but as an individual. So like I know a couple people who just had crap going on outside of med school, and they were able to talk to faculty. If you get sick, I got super sick right before one of our IBI exams, and had to miss PBL, which is required. And I emailed Dean Meyer, and he didn't even like make me get a doctor's note. He was just like, go feel better and sleep. So just know that like they and admin will tell you multiple times to reach out, and from a student perspective, like reach out. Life happens. They'll get you through it.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so the last question, and then we might answer it, but I just wanted to give us a allotted amount of time, was a question that we got, and it said, when I told one of my mentors, a female physician, that I was beginning medical school, she jumped into the make sure you dress appropriately, wear makeup, keep your hair up to look older and more professional. As females after your first year, have you had any experience that relate to your presentation as a female, good or bad, and do you have any advice for our dress and appearance?
Okay.
Go ahead.
No, you go.
I saw this question early when it was submitted, so I thought about it all last night and tried not to get really mad about this. I know we have some guys on here, so if you're listening, also take notes when you're attending about how to treat your female med students. I heard the same advice coming in, and I can say my appearance, thankfully, here has not, I don't think has made a difference in what I wore. I wore pretty much whatever I wanted when I came to campus, unless it's professional dress. Professional dress, even like you'd have people wearing like really professional, like I don't even want to say suits. I think we went more like business casual for our professional dress. Like you can wear skirts and cute things. But I will say, if you ever have any of that, like any kind of sexual discrimination, please reach out to like our Title IX coordinator. They're working really hard to make that a better scenario. And I'll say when I scribed, it was before I came here, I had a really unfortunate experience with a male attending commenting on my female appearance, some body parts that are normally not commented on. And I didn't report them because I was scared. I didn't want it to come back on me. And I would say, like, don't be afraid to do that. That was my biggest regret. I wish I'd done that. So if that ever happens at KU Med, like, please speak out because I have heard from other people that they do a pretty good job about following up on those things.
So when I go to campus, I wear sweats. So you do not have to dress up to go to lectures. You could even wear baseball caps. People wear that too. So yeah, dress however you want. But my biggest experience was when I was at JDoc, I was wearing scrubs because it was, I just don't wear my white coat. Because I'm usually not seeing patients. I'm usually just in the provider's room. And so I saw one patient, and it was during COVID, and she had a mask on, and every time I talked to her, she kept pulling her mask down and telling me how uncomfortable she is, how she couldn't breathe, all these things, and I kept having to remind her like 8 to 10 times, please put on your mask. Once the attending came in, he was a male, he had a white coat. Not once did she complain about her mask or anything like that. So it was kind of frustrating. So I think that one of the things, and I don't know if it, and I couldn't figure out if it was because I wasn't wearing my white coat, if I was a female. And it's just something that you have to realize, but not be okay with. So I think that it is something that it's not just happening to females from physicians and authority figures, it's also patient interaction as well. Sometimes you will feel as a female that they are not taking you seriously. And that is something that you should not get used to, and you should put your foot down and tell the patients that, like, I too am helping you. I'm trying to get you the best of care. Please give me a little bit of respect too. So you should never have to accept it, and you know, just be more confident in yourself because you are still here, whether you're female, male, or anything like that. And it should never matter how you are dressed. They should all give you respect. That's the respect that you give them too.
I have had the privilege of not having to deal with any of that so far in my education or even before medical school. But I think Christina and Lisa kind of nailed it. I think it's important to report it if you think so. If you're not comfortable, maybe talk to like a friend or something and have them help you out through the process. It is, I would assume that it would take you back first. Like, I'm guessing like if you heard it like right there and then, you'd be like, what the heck just happened? That just happened? I'm guessing is how it goes. But once you process it and everything, I think it's important to tell someone about it, because it is very toxic. It's and it deters you from your education, and that's not okay. Once it affects your education, it's not okay.
Yeah, and I don't know, I feel like for me, it's more of I've observed kind of gender dynamics more often than not, of just kind of like noticing when, like, oh, who are the only people that raise their hands? Oh, it looks like it's only like the women in the room. Or like after we do like a simulation, maybe it's like we all kind of say like, oh, we should have done this better. But the only people who are like, I did amazing, I did great, seemed like the guys. And it's more of like, not like right wrong type of thing, but you can just kind of slightly see kind of those dynamics and be like, hey, like I actually did great, give myself grace, like, you know what I mean? Like, this isn't talking necessarily about appearance, but you'll just kind of like, not to go out and like look for these, but when you notice them, just kind of realize like, oh hey, like maybe they're being taken more seriously because they take up more space in the room, like, you know, like the power poses and stuff like that. But I haven't had anything that was like hugely any like, other than maybe like, oh, honey or sweetie or something like that, which, you know, I'll get over it. Not good, but like I'll continue to treat.
There are definitely some patients that could definitely give you some really off comments. I say with that, you have to be stern with it, because that's happened to me. I've had plenty of older gentlemen say some really weird things, and it's it did catch me off guard, but sometimes I kind of brush it off, but sometimes it's like, hey, I would rather you not address me as honey or sweetie if possible. So there's a level of respect, and there's a line that has to be drawn, and it depends on where you want to draw the line as well too.
Yeah.
For yourself.
Also, the one last thing, I know we're running out of time, and we have a required thing we have to go to, but also as women too, you will get, I don't know if you will, but I got comments. I came in married, so I don't have to deal with that, but when are you getting married? When are you going to have kids? How are you going to have kids and be a doctor? Can you be a mom and be a doctor? And again, as someone who very intentionally is having a family in the middle of med school, you kind of have to learn to let that roll off your back. But I've also learned to start talking back to people. So if you're getting comments about like, when are you getting married? Or, you know, like anything that's private and it's relation to med school, like don't be afraid to tell people like, not your business. I'm really sarcastic, so I like to make people really uncomfortable. When they make stupid comments like, how are you going to be a mom and be a doctor? And I'm like, I guess I'm just going to have to pick one, or, you know, like, guess my child will never know who I am. I've also made the comment that I'm going to just drop the child off on the side of the road when I have clinic. So just really learning to like handle it with a little bit of humor. And also not being afraid to go ahead and get married or get engaged or be in a relationship, all those things, but also telling people that it's none of their business, because it's not, and it's really annoying. I don't know if guys deal with that as much as women, but I got asked how many times we were going to have kids, probably 50 times in my first year of med school, and I wanted to scream. So.
But yeah, last kind of thought because it asked about dress and appearance, I would say dress professionally. Like nothing really changes between medical versus like business. Like if a guy's shirt is all the way down to here and it's open, like that's not professional. If you as a woman is that open, it's not professional. If you don't want to wear makeup, don't wear makeup. I like makeup because I feel like I come off more like confident. It's not like my insecurity. I feel like I don't have to think about. Hair up, hair down. If you fidget, similar thing. If you're in a business professional, this would look as unprofessional as a dude who's like fidgeting with his hair if they do that as well. But just think of it how you would dress if you're going to like a business conference. Don't think of it specifically as medicine treats it any different.
And always keep a hair tie too, because I did get yelled at for not having a hair tie, putting my hair up. when I was doing CPR, not in real life, but just simulation, like just doing CPR class. I didn't have a hair tie, and it was warranted. I should have had my hair up because I was bending down. So just keep a hair tie if you have long hair.
You want a hair tie for gross anatomy, unless you really want to be into that formaldehyde. I would suggest it. I don't mind, but yeah. Long hair and stethoscope. Oh yeah. That was from Lisa. But okay. So that is our time. If your name on your screen is not your full name, please chat me before you leave so you can be entered in our giveaway for Bamboo gift cards. If you have any questions, feel free to email us. We're all pretty open about answering advice and that stuff. And hope you learned some stuff and hope to see you at our next meeting. Thank you guys so much. Have a great rest of your week. Congrats on being in med school. Bye all.
Okay. Blackboard, right? Is that okay?
Yeah, that's where our next thing is.
Is it 2 hours?
Guys.
No, it's an hour and a half.
Yes. Oh yeah. Okay. I don't.
Lauren Parker
remember.
just emailed us. Lauren Parker just emailed Debbie, so she just explained it. Okay.
Oh,
bye, guys.
Perfect.
Being a hot mess, guys.
All right. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.